I am begging you, stop chasing someone that God is removing from your life. Stop hoping that they will change. Stop allowing fear to dictate what happens next. That fear not only blocks God's will for you, it also keeps you in the very place that has caused you so much pain and so much heartache. Most times, God sends you signals and warnings when He is removing someone from your life. And then He allows you to choose either to let go or to keep holding on. He gives you the free will to decide what happens next. And maybe He led you to this video because there's a part of you that wants to let go, but there's another part of you that is fighting to keep them. This does not mean that letting go is easy. It might break your heart, and that is where God comes in. Psalms 34 verse 18 promises that God draws closer to people like you, those who are brokenhearted, and He saves those who are crushed in spirit. Letting go is not giving up. It is submitting to God's will and trusting that He is leading you somewhere better. And if you're sitting there asking yourself, how do I know for sure if it's God removing them? I recommend that you watch my video on these specific signs. It should be popping up somewhere here, and there's also a link in the description below. So let's continue. What does chasing cost you? What are the consequences of holding on? The first one is that it can steal your dignity. You start tolerating behavior and treatment that you previously would have walked away from just because you're hoping that they will change. Holding on can keep you attached to a version of them that is long gone. They have already become someone else, someone who no longer respects you, someone who no longer fights for you. You endure humiliation and pain, hoping that the version you once knew will one day come back. But sometimes you have to love yourself more, and you have to accept the reality that is in front of you. The second consequence of holding on is that it can distort your understanding of love. You start believing that love must be chased, must be earned, must be constantly proven. When you find yourself being the only one who is always reaching out, always apologizing, always trying to fix things, always looking for their attention, you start believing that this is what love requires. You start measuring your worth by how much you can give and how much pain you can endure. But that's not the relationship that God desires for you. Love shouldn't keep you trapped in fear, confusion, or constant striving. You shouldn't live your whole life begging for something that should be given freely. The third consequence is that chasing can steal your peace. Your emotions become dependent on somebody else's approval, presence, or attention. A simple message from them can make you feel like things are getting better. A single phone call, a rare moment of kindness, a little bit of attention from them can make you feel that this time things will be different. And then they hurt you all over again. They become distant again. The disappointment returns. The confusion comes back. You start waiting for the next small moment of connection, hoping that this time round, the relationship will become what you have been praying for. Without knowing it, you have fallen prey to their manipulation. They now have full control over your peace. The fourth consequence of chasing someone that God is removing is that it can steal the future that God is leading you toward. Holding on can keep you so focused on what you're trying to keep that you struggle to embrace what God is placing in front of you. It can make you blind to what God is building in you. Sometimes we cannot see what God is placing in front of us because we are busy looking behind us. I remember in a seminar I once attended, a lady shared how she turned down a job offer for a senior position in a multinational organization because accepting it required her moving to a distant city. At that time, the man she was in love with had started seeing someone else, but she couldn't let go. She believed that by staying, she could fight for the relationship and win the man back. In the end, she lost both the relationship and the job opportunity. She couldn't step into the season that God was opening for her because she kept reaching back to the old one. Start trusting God with your seasons. He knows what He is ending, where He is leading you, and who should not go with you into the next chapter. God did not create you to be sustained by the presence, approval, or attention of someone else. He created you to find your identity and your purpose in Him. But why does God remove people from our lives? Sometimes God removes people for a reason, and one of the reasons is that He wants to bring clarity and create room for your expansion. Sometimes He removes someone because the purpose He has for you cannot coexist with that relationship. Abraham and Lot had grown too large. They could no longer exist in the same land together. Their households started fighting over resources. So Abraham had to allow Lot to choose his own path and go on his own way. After that separation, God renewed and expanded His promise to Abraham. The relationship was not evil, but it couldn't hold what God wanted to do in Abraham's life. The second reason is mercy for both people. Sometimes God wants to bless both of you, but separately. Maybe you are both good people, but God wants separate paths for you. Paul and Barnabas had built a strong ministry together, but they came to a point where they disagreed sharply because of John Mark in Acts 15. Their disagreement was so serious that they had to go their separate ways. That separation might have looked like failure, but they both went on to build powerful ministries even though they were no longer together. The separation was not loss for either of them. It was mercy for both, and it created room for each of them to grow into God's calling. The third reason is for your protection. Sometimes you have to move away from the person that God is removing for your own security. God shows you the signs, but you have to get away yourself. And this is what happened to David. King Saul was getting so jealous that he started planning to kill him. But his own son, Jonathan, was a good friend of David, and so he told David about the plan to kill him. David fled and went into hiding. Notice that God never removed King Saul from David's life directly. He warned David, and then David had to run. We could discuss more reasons as to why God removes people from our lives, but these three already show us that separation is not always rejection. Sometimes it's God bringing clarity and creating room for your expansion. Other times it's Him showing mercy for both of you. And sometimes it's for your own protection. And so if letting go is actually relief, then why is it still so hard? The thing is, underneath the chasing is a deep fear about what happens to you after the person is gone. And for some people, they have a subconscious, stubborn belief that they can direct their own path way better than God can. But the Bible gives us the perfect model on how to respond to God's will when He shows us the signs. In the book of Acts chapter 9, Saul is on the road to Damascus. He has built his entire life around persecuting the church. He is certain that his path is right. And then Christ confronts him directly, and everything he was so sure of about his life collapsed instantly. Saul never argued or tried to protect what he had built. He surrendered and asked God, "Lord, what do you want me to do?" He let go of the path he was so certain of, and he gave himself fully to what God was calling him to do. That's how we should trust God's will, even when He is removing people from our lives. Now, if you want to get a deeper understanding of why letting go is so difficult, even when God has shown you the signs, watch my complete video that talks about this struggle. The link should be somewhere here and also in the description. If letting go is so difficult, then what does it actually require? Start by creating healthy boundaries between you and the person. Avoid unnecessary communication and remove any triggers that are likely to make you start looking for them. And even when it gets hard and you start missing them, remind yourself of why you reached this point and all the pain that came with holding on. Secondly, redirect your energy into something that grows and develops you as a person. This can be by learning a new language, starting a short course that adds to your skill, or something as minor as physical fitness. This does not mean escaping the pain. It means giving your hands and your mind something to build as your heart deals with the slower work of healing. Then take time to process the pain and avoid numbing it. Remember, letting go is not a loss. Sometimes it's how God creates room for what is coming next. And if you want to learn more about healing after God has removed someone from your life, watch my video here. If you have been chasing someone that God has started removing from your life, let them go. Trust that God is leading you somewhere better, and let Him finish what He already started. If this spoke to you, like the video and tell me in the comments, what are you choosing to release today?